with a little bit done already, I suppose, into our show, I suppose it's time for the news.
Huzzah. So I guess from one hybrid to another, let's now take a look at our first news story, which is all about the special edition Prius, which, and I quote Tyler on this one, celebrates 10 years of misery. I think about a third of us disagree with that, but I'll carry anyway with the stats. Obviously it's been 10 years since the hybrid Prius first conceived and began, and they thought, John, let's for this one, let's make it that little bit better. They've made some slight changes to the body. They've added rear privacy glass, but like no one wants to look at a hybrid driver. It's got darkened rims to give it that sporty edge, but unfortunately they've made no improvements to the performance. Only 1,000 are being made though, but they're going to cost £26,150, which seems a bit inane when you consider that the VW Golf Blue Motion, which has a higher MPG, it's actually a proper car that's just been modified, and it's actually cheaper despite having more equipment, not to mention its 1.6 litre engine is cheaper. I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, I'm the only one here who actually supports the Prius, but even
How? I'm sorry, Steve. I do not understand how you can support the Prius in any way. Let's have a look at it as a car, in inverted commas. I appreciate that these days we've all got to save the polar bears and prevent the polar ice cubes from melting, and God, we all know we've got to stop Scotland from slipping into the sea.
Oh my.
That's a cause to get behind. But the Prius is in essence the most bland white good you could ever buy. And because it has to be a hybrid, it has to be light, it's been sourced from the cheapest, nastiest materials you can absolutely imagine. And the whole point of it being a hybrid, it just collapses in on itself when it does lower miles to the gallon than what an economically tuned diesel Golf does.
Yeah,
and then it robs people of its money. And it's purely because...
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree, but it's still a good car.
How is it good?
Right, what is your... Let's be kids, what's your favourite car?
Oh, I don't know, at the age of 6 I probably would have said something like a Porsche 911, something like that.
What's the miles per gallon when you're driving faster than one of those, would you say?
About 12.
12. Okay, let me put this in perspective for you. I know about 5 people in my area that drive the Prius. Right, those 5 people aren't me. Yeah, those 5 people aren't me, but they are helping the environment. That means that you can drive your 911 knowing those 5 mugs can, you know, back it up and cause you not to worry about that 12 miles per gallon. It's not a good car. I'd never touch it. Why would I want to drive something as disgusting as that? But it's a good car because it means that we can drive better cars.
I'm worried about this. There's logic behind that.
Yeah, crikey, he does have a point. The thing that really grabs me about it, you say it has the privacy glass. It thinks it's some kind of Bentley or some kind of super footballer's, you know, limousine or something.
I've worked it out. That privacy glass isn't there for privacy. It's for protection.
Yeah.
Because people see people driving that and go, I'm going to egg your house.
Absolutely, so against embarrassment.
But unfortunately, it only protects the rear passengers.
Yeah,
so try to care about your children, but not you. From one piece of gadgetry to another, Matt.
So, we have to go now to a section for all you cult film heroes. Really, when you think about cars and films, okay, you got Herbie, you got all those things like that, but really at the end of the day, you cannot beat a good bit of Bond, I don't think. And for me, the best Bond is the early Bond. Sean Connery, magnificent. But he would not be Sean Connery without his gadgets and, more importantly, his wheels. And that is a relevant subject because recently James Bond's Aston Martin, from the original films Goldfinger and Thunderball, has sold for, hang on a minute, £3 million at an auction. How many houses could you buy for that? Well, for me, it doesn't matter how many. This is a true piece of history. Now, as you remember through the films, it was absolutely laden with all gadgets, lovely bits and pieces to impress the ladies, leave them shaken and hopefully stirred as well. The machine gun would always be there in the case of emergency for old Bonds. Bulletproof shield, who could do without that? An oil slick out the back, that's certainly something that you need nowadays. Certainly you wouldn't be able to get it on your Prius. And of course, the one that we all remember, the ejector seat. Oh, how many of you have wished you had an ejector seat in the side of your car, in the other passenger seat, whilst your little kids maybe are winding you up? Just press the button on the gear lever, out you go.
Launching your child out of your car 100 foot in the air is fine.
Oh, it certainly relieves stress nowadays, doesn't it? But I would love it. I don't know about you. Oh, what a great dad I'm going to be. Anyway, it was sold for exactly $2,912,000 to an American, bit of a shame, who intends to put it at a private museum. All profits go to charity. So really the final word has to be, Mr. Bond, do you expect me to bid? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to sell.
All the bidders left there stroking their cats after what is a staggering amount of money to pay for an Aston Martin DB5, which, being honest, though a cult classic, does drive like a train. But yeah, like you say, it's got the gadgets and whatnot. So yeah, I think as a piece of film history, a piece of automotive godliness, not a word, but it is now, I think it's worth every penny.
It's just a shame that it's just going to be left as furniture, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And
I mean, it may drive like a train, but still it would be... I could just imagine driving one, well, I can imagine what it would be like to see one of those pass, especially that one, and seeing a child launch out. But nonetheless, whatever. So
we have the NSPCC round here.
Yes.
That would be the only problem, I suppose. Just got to leave them out of it. Okay, well, Tyler, I think you've got a bit of news moving back into the 21st century.
Yes, and to all the Porsche fans out there, the 911 returns to the track. Now, we all know about Porsche's brand new 911 RS, which I think is, I don't want to draw too many conclusions, but I think it's one of the best sports cars that's on sale today, especially in that carbon kind of graphite grey and red. There's just something that just shakes the 6-year-old inside me to death whenever you see one of those blow past. However, Porsche obviously has its roots in racing, and the rear-engine car returns with the 911 GT3 CUP RS. It is the world's most popular race car, and it returns for 2011. It's obviously based on the new GT3 to show that the company really do have their roots in racing. With very few modifications, things like roll cages, fire extinguisher has been added to the race car. It still has the same 3.8 litre flat 6, which some argue is the wrong engine in the wrong place. Others would argue that Porsche engineers have just worked so hard to make that wrong engine in the wrong place become a success. Well, it's also the world's most successful race car, so that can't be argued. With 450 brake horsepower and only costing a very reasonable £94,000, which for a race car, I think you find actually quite cheap. And deliveries start early next year. So I'm going to go buy a scratch card and place my order, I think.
This really is astonishing. I mean, the price-wise I'm talking about, you're not compromising on quality. I mean, it's not as if this is some sort of knockoff Ferrari, it's a knockoff Porsche. It is a Porsche. I'd be quite happy to drive one around.
Yeah, but it's just a Porsche.
What do you mean it's just a Porsche?
It's another 911. It doesn't matter. There's so many of them that they could release one with machine guns that fires fire and goes crazy and goes 400 miles an hour, but it's just another 911. Honestly,
I know what you mean. The 911 badge has been degraded over the past couple of years with countless special editions and.
Yeah, but they're not that special.
No,
That's why I just think that this is going to be another Porsche.
I think the race car is a different breed, however. I think the race car is very much something that is Porsche prestigious. I completely agree with this new 911 Speedster they brought out and things, and the 911 this and the 911 that. The Sport Classic. Which was a 1 of 500, I think. That was quite good because it incorporated all of the old Porsche stuff into one car, as opposed to changing little bits. I mean, Porsche has this evolutionary perfection about it, but from model to model, you're not seeing much difference. A few light bulbs here and there. No, I can agree with you at that point, but I think that this being a proper solid race car. It's very much something that people who buy these cars, put their own stickers, their own team name on it, I think would very much welcome. Yeah. Now, here at Inside Lane, I think for our final feature of the show today, is very important to show that we're proper car people. Alfa Romeo, I think, is probably the best example of that, though the downside of owning an Alfa Romeo is obviously its reliability. I went to go and test Alfa Romeo's brand new Giulietta to see whether they fixed this issue and restored the honour among petrol heads across the world.